I want to talk to you about the Ark of the Covenant, because the true biblical Ark of the Covenant lays down the pattern for the hope that every human being really has. And this goes way past Raiders of the Lost Ark. The Ark of the Covenant was a 4 by 2 by 2 foot box. It was overlaid with pure gold. And on top of that ark were 2 cherubim hammered out of pure gold. And we're going to talk about what went on in the space in between. Right above the lid of the Ark of the Covenant, or what is called the mercy seat, was the place where God's presence dwelt. It's the place on all the face of the earth in the Old Testament where God's manifest glory was. And no one could see his presence. Even when the high priest would go into the Holy of Holies, to the Ark of the Covenant, he had to burn incense so that he could not see God's presence. And I want to say to you that every human being, ultimately, whether we know it or not, what we long for is to be able to be in God's presence, to be at peace with the one who created us, to know that everything is right between us and him. That's what leads to a life of peace and hope. The problem is that in the Ark of the Covenant, there were 3 things, one of which was a copy of the 10 Commandments. Those 10 Commandments down below in the Ark of the Covenant are how we know we are sinners. The commandments were given to show us that we cannot keep God's law. And so constantly pulling us downward is the guilt that we have before God, knowing we do not obey him as we should. And yet what we long for is to rise above into the presence of God. But it seems impossible because we keep feeling guilt. We keep feeling separated from him. That's what the lid of the Ark of the Covenant was about. It was called the mercy seat. And that was the place where the high priest sprinkled the blood of the slain animal. He took the blood and put it on the mercy seat. And that separated the law from God's presence. That is what the blood of Jesus does for us. That animal blood was a picture of what Jesus was going to come to do. Jesus puts his blood over our guilt. Jesus blocks our sinfulness from dragging us down and away from God's presence. He forgives us so that we can rise above our guilt and shame and be right with the God of the universe who created us. Jesus is our protection.